Hello everybody, and welcome to NorCal Slot Car Scene. Today we're going to talk about some cars that have just been announced for release in 2024 from Scaleauto. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about racing in Northern California. Probably our two most popular classes are Group 5 and Group C. And those are period classes in that the Group 5 cars are from late 1970s and the Group C cars are from the early 1980s through about 1990 or so. So it's very easy for a manufacturer to produce cars because these cars are 25 to 30 years old or more. In Group C, we run these as spec classes. So there are other manufacturers that make Group C cars, but we limit it to the Group C cars from slotted. For the primary reason, the competitiveness. They're all the same underneath the body shell. There's some weight differences, there's some length and dimension differences, but it keeps everybody equal playing field. We don't want another manufacturer to come in and dominate and everybody have to buy that car. So we've kept this as a slotted class. And the same in Group 5. We're using the Racer Sideways line of Group 5 cars, and both of these classes are very competitive and have a huge number of different brands of cars as well as multiple liveries in each brand. It's like I said, it's easy for a manufacturer to do this because these cars are 30 to 40 years old, so they can bring out any car they want to because they know what it is. It's hard for a manufacturer to do a contemporary series because it changes so quickly. And when a race car manufacturer brings out a new car, it may take a year or so for that car to reach production as a slot car. IMSA and the World Endurance Challenge has changed over the last year or so with the Hypercar and the GTP cars. And these are the current cars that are run at the IMSA races in the United States, the 24 Hours Daytona, and now the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So these were taken at Laguna Seca in 2023. And the three manufacturers here are the Porsche, the BMW, and the Cadillac. That Scaleauto has now come out with some of these cars, and this car is less than a year old, and it's on the market already. The white kit came out from Scaleauto late last year, and so we saw what was going to be happening in the world of contemporary race cars. So these cars are just barely hitting a year old, and they're already on the market. It came out as a white kit, so we were waiting for the liveried versions, and those have been announced, and they should be hitting the market fairly soon in these first two liveries. If you saw my video at the first year of my wish list, when I saw the Porsche 963, I said, bring out these two new liveries. You've got the car. The mold for the body is probably the hardest thing for the manufacturer to do, but these two liveries, the Hertz livery is striking, as are the liveries that they ran at Le Mans in the Porsche 963. So those have been announced. Quarter two. We're almost to quarter two now. So we'll see those liveries on the Porsche 963, and this is going to start this class for Scaleauto. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to be very similar to what we have in Group C and Group 5, in that it will be a spec class for a specific manufacturer with this line of cars. They've announced the Cadillac in the white kit for Q2, quarter two, so that's not too far away. And so I think by July, August, we'll have quite a few cars out. The Porsche will be out. The Cadillac will be out in liveries. The BMW M Hybrid, my favorite because I'm a BMW fan. Q3 for the white kit. Q4 for the livery kit. And if you've looked at the BMW on the track, it kind of looks like a hodgepodge of colors in the BMW M line. But when you see it from the side view there on the top right, it actually forms the M logo. So when you see this in person, it's a very striking livery. The Peugeot races in the World Endurance Challenge, and so it does not race in the United States, other than there is one round of the World Endurance Challenge in the United States this year, so we'll see it here. And we've got even more coming, so the future for this is great. We've got the Ferrari, we've got the Lamborghini racing this year, the Alpine, and there's even more. So we've never seen an influx of race cars into the field at Le Mans and the 24 Hours of Daytona, fighting for overall from multiple manufacturers. So starting off, we got the Porsche 963 from Scaleauto, and as we went through them just a second ago, we're going to have the Cadillac, we're going to have the BMW Hybrid, and we're going to have the Peugeot 9X8. And so these are all coming fairly soon this year from Scaleauto. When you look at the Scaleauto line, they have various types. They have a home series, they have their race series, so they make some of the same cars with different chassis for different price points and different levels of skill level. The Hypercar, the 963 that started this, is a new chassis for them. It's called their Pro chassis. And so when you take a look at the Pro chassis that debuted with the 963 late last year, it's a whole new ballgame. And it uses a new motor pod. And if you go onto the Scaleauto website, you can see all the various components, the motor, the tires, and everything that what comes standard in this car. When you look at the car or the chassis, it definitely looks a little different. And when you look at the top view, you can tell it's different. And what's different is this new RT4 motor pod. When you look closer at the RT4 motor pod, it says angle winder 12 degrees. So what they've done is they've changed the angle of the motor within the chassis. So instead of about 25 degrees, as you'd find in their cars as well as cars from Slotted or NSR, they've narrowed that angle to 12 degrees. And what that allows them to do is move the motor further rearward in the chassis and closer to the rear axle. And I'm sure the purpose of that is to improve performance. So we'll see how that goes. They are making a couple of GT cars with this motor pod, but primarily it's for the Porsche 963 and the Hypercars and the GTP cars. The motor in this car is going to be really strong. Scaleauto, in my opinion, tends to underestimate their motors, just like some manufacturers do with horsepower. And this is going to be a really strong motor. The one they're using is the one in the top of this list, the Sprinter Junior 2. The specs on it, 22,500 RPM, which is more powerful than their more RPM than their GT motors, and 430 grams of torque. So this thing is, I think, going to be a real monster on the track and create a great class. So thanks, Scaleauto. It's amazing that they're able to get all four of these cars, and I assume hopefully more out later, but to get contemporary race cars. So we're actually racing contemporary cars that are currently being raced, as opposed to cars that are 4 or 5 years old, or in the case of the Group C and the Group 5, they have their own niche, because that's a whole niche of cars racing from a given period. But to try to do contemporary cars, they've knocked it out of the park, and this line may be, in my opinion, the front runner for Slot Car of the Year for 2024. So thank you all for watching, and I hope your clubs will, I think you can embrace this. It's going to be a great class. And I'm looking forward to racing these. So thanks for watching. This is Jim Rose with NorCal Slot Car Scene, and we'll see you at the racetrack.